Hey everyone, TwoBraids here, and welcome to another video. So this video is going to be about motorcycles. If you guys didn't know that I actually am into motorcycles. I used to have two Harleys back in 2010 to 2012. Okay, so the history about that is that I bought my first Harley when I was 22 years old, so 10 years ago. I'm 32 by the way. Yeah, I don't look like it. But one of my friends from high school, he bought a Harley Sportster. And man, I was just impressed. I was like, man, that thing's badass. Like, I have to have one of those. And so at the time, I was working a job and I was paid fairly well for Idaho standards. And I guess it was for my 22nd birthday. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy one. So I bought one. But the thing is that I never even rode a bike before in my life. I never rode a motorcycle. I think I rode an ATV once or twice. But yeah, so I bought it and I loaded it up on my truck and I brought it back home, and I had no clue how to ride it, so I studied the controls. It's different if you ride a bike. It's totally opposite of like a manual car, and then you have to balance. And being a Harley, like for a first bike, that's kind of extreme because Harleys are really heavy. The Sportsters are like 500 to 600 pounds, and so I learned how to use a clutch. In like 20 minutes, I would like go on a little incline, and then I'd rev up, and then I'd go up a little bit, and I'd walk it backwards, and I get used to the clutch system with my hands. And I did that for like 20 minutes, and then I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. So I finally just went for it. I figured out, the gears, how you shift up, and I was like, you know what, so I went for it. I started shifting. I've already, was pretty good at driving a manual car, so it was the same concept, but just, with your hands and feet and balancing. So I went and I started riding, and I got up to like 20 miles an hour, and, when you're new to that, like, that's really fast to you. Like, all that wind in your face is just like, whoa. And I got to like 35 miles an hour, and I was like a little back road by myself, and I was like, oh man, this is fun. So I'm going like in third or fourth gear, just putting along, and then I'm like, all right, how do I stop? And I was like, I don't know how to stop. So I was like running out of road, and it comes to a dead end where I was learning at, and I don't know, I just like coasted it, and I shifted down, and I just really eased it, and I just really like pretty much rolled to a stop and like cut my clutch in so I wouldn't pop it. I probably could have killed it. That'd probably been the easiest thing for me to do, but yeah. So I turned it around somehow on that little two-lane highway, and the rest is history. I started off with the 2005 883 Sportster, like the smallest bike you can get for Harley, and then 2 years later I upgraded to a 2005 Electric Light Classic. That's the one with like the big bat fairing in front, the hard saddlebags, and kind of like a touring bike. And that thing was like a freaking cloud, man. That was so nice. But it was way bigger too. I was really intimidated the first time I rode it because it's like an 800 to 900 pound bike, somewhere around there. So, just picking it up is like a chore. And, I'm kind of a small guy, and, I got pretty good at it to where I was just comfortable with it. I could ride it, take it off anywhere, and any situation, I could get it out. I could maneuver it really well. It was actually really maneuverable too, considering how big the bike was. But then I sold them in 2013. I was in college, and I just couldn't afford the payments no more, and it just wasn't practical for me to have it. So I was like, I had to sell it, which is like the worst thing you could do, being like a Harley or just motorcycle rider in general. Selling your bike is like pretty bad. So I sold both of them, and I haven't had a bike since. So it's been like 7 years since I've had a bike. And Envision, my friend that I rode with this weekend, he came back from New York City. Crazy guy, by the way. He went from LA to New York on his Sportster, and he was in New York for a month and a half, and then he rode back just recently, last week. He got to Phoenix and stopped by and visited for a couple days, but he rode back from New York to back to LA, and I'm like, how can you do that, man? Like, I rode for 2 hours or 3 hours with him this past weekend, and I was like sore for 2 days straight. Like, my legs were sore, and my thighs and my spine hurt, and I was like, man, this guy's tough. But we met like back in 2015. He's from Seattle area, Tribes, I think, Nisqually, and we became really good friends, and we've just been linking up. He's been down here in Arizona, and he lives in Long Beach now, and then he had some hookups in Brooklyn, so he invited me out there. So last month I went to New York and hung out with him. I might do a video about my New York experience and all the things I did. Just life-changing experience, by the way. But anyways, so him and his friend were here in Phoenix, and she was kind enough to let me ride her bike, so thank you for that. And yeah, so we rode, and I got some really good footage on my GoPro and my phone. And I know people are gonna say like, Alex, wear your helmet. Like, yes, normally I would wear a helmet, but I don't have any motorcycle gear, obviously. I think I have some chaps from like still in the closet, but I don't have a helmet. I don't have all my riding gear, so I sold all that a long time ago. But I am in the market for another bike because after that experience, I was like, "Yep, I need another one." And I realized how dangerous it is, and I'm very careful. I watch everybody, and normally I wear a helmet, so there's one off thing where I wasn't wearing it, and Arizona doesn't require it. So if you're gonna say something about that, I covered it. So yeah, so here's gonna be some footage of this past weekend, um, and yeah, so I like motorcycles, so I'm thinking I'm gonna be in a market for one. So I think I'm gonna link up with some people here in the valley that ride bikes, and maybe I'm gonna try and get into a club here at a native club, and that might be my next step. So enjoy the footage, and I'll see you in the next video.